the highlights of the story of Joseph. Joseph was the son of Jacob and Rachel. Joseph was the seventh son of his father Jacob and the first son of his mother Rachel. Joseph was born in the land of Haran. Later moved with his father and household to the land of Babylon. Joseph was beloved by his father, and his father Jacob made him a coat of many colors. Joseph went out on an adventure with his brothers one day, and his brothers thought to do him evil, and they left him, and the Bedouins, caravan of Bedouins, coming along, going down into the land of Egypt. They bought him from the Midianites, and as they got into the land of Egypt, they sold Joseph to Potiphar, the overseer of the land of Egypt. And Potiphar made Joseph a slave in the land of Egypt. And finally, Joseph found favor in the eyes of Potiphar. And Potiphar took Joseph to the palace, the Pharaohs, the king of Egypt, and made him a servant there. And although Joseph was faithful and truthful, Joseph was falsely accused and cast into the royal prison. And he was sentenced lifetime and cast into the dungeon there. While in the dungeon, he communicated with the king's butler. The butler was in prison. He was the chief butler. And something that the other butlers did, he was cast into prison for. And so one night, the butler had a dream, and it troubled him. And he told it to Joseph. And Joseph interpreted his dream. And so Joseph told the butler, within 3 days, the king would send for him, and his possession as cupbearer would be restored unto him. So within 3 days, the king Pharaoh, he sent his captains and guards into the dungeon to take the butler out and come before him. And the king restored the butler his possession as cupbearer. Cupbearer is one that serves the king his wine at mealtime. So Joseph was in prison in the dungeon. He was thinking that he told the butler when he get freed and restored his possession to remember him and say a good word to the King Pharaoh, that the king may take him out of that horrible place, the dungeon. And so after 2 years, Joseph was in the dungeon. He thought the butler had forgotten about him. So finally, one night, Pharaoh had a dream, and it troubled his head. So he sent for the astrologers, the soothsayers, and the musicians, and they all came in, and he told them his dream. He told them he was down by the river Nile, and he saw 7 fat cows coming out of the river. And then he looked again, and he saw 7 bony, lean cows coming out of the river Nile. And then he looked around, and he saw the bony, lean cows. They ate up all 7 of the healthy fat cows, and still they were bony. So he looked around and he saw 7 stalks of corn, healthy corn, and on each stalk all the ears of corn was filled with corn. And then he looked again and he saw 7 dried up stalks of corn, and each one of the corn ears had no corn on them, and they were just dried up. And so the dried up stalks of corn, all 7 stalks, they ate up the 7 healthy stalks of corn with the ears of corn, and they were still dry. So that troubled the pharaohs, and so Pharaoh said, so he wanted to know the meaning. So the astrologers, the soothsayers, and the musicians, they all failed. They couldn't understand the meaning of the Pharaoh's dream, and it troubled him. So then he was talking to the butler, and the butler told him, "O king, I know a man that was in prison, in the royal prison when I was there, and he was in the dungeon, and he is in the dungeon. He is one of the Hebrew men, and I had a dream, and it troubled me. I told him my dream, and he gave me the interpretation thereof, and everything that he said came to pass." Then the king called his guards and captain. He said, "Go take the Hebrew young man out of the dungeon and bring him before me." So the captain and the guards, they went on to the royal prison, and they went and took Joseph out of the dungeon. And then Joseph went and shaved himself and changed his clothes and came before the king, Pharaoh. So King Pharaoh said, "By what name, okay, do you interpret this dream?" And he said, "Only by the will of God." So he interpreted the king's dream, and he told the king it would be 7 years of plentifulness in Egypt, and then after that it would be 7 years following that of famine, such great famine that ever was in the land of the earth. That's it. Thank you.